My gift with the world. I was very naive and green when it came to what that meant. I was honest, and that is what I've continued to carry with me, being honest, in any kind of way. Yeah.
For many years, Erykah Badu has been regarded as an exception in American music, an artist who never needed to please the public, a symbol who lives by intuition, instinct, and a way of thinking that is always ahead of its time. People grew accustomed to calling her different, even eccentric. But what has just happened has gone far beyond any boundary that was ever considered acceptable. It is no longer a controversial statement, not merely a shocking performance. It is an entire chain of choices, words, and actions that has caused Erykah Badu's image to fracture in the very place where she was once most revered. From a neo-soul icon to the center of criticism. From an awakened artist to a moral question stirring fierce debate. So in the end, what exactly happened to Erykah Badu? And why this time are the consequences far worse than anyone ever expected? From neo-soul goddess to a divisive symbol. Erykah Badu did not emerge in music as a star manufactured by the industry. She arrived as a phenomenon. Slowly, quietly. Yet the moment she opened her mouth to sing, everything around her immediately shifted off its axis. In the late 1990s, when American R&B was flooded with industrially produced love songs, Erykah Badu introduced something entirely different: raw, brooding music steeped in jazz, soul, and personal philosophy. In 1997, Baduism was released and quickly became a cultural explosion. The album not only earned her 2 Grammy Awards and sold more than 3 million copies worldwide, but also laid the foundation for the concept of neo-soul, a musical current deeply tied to personal consciousness, Black identity, and spiritual depth. Unlike the divas of her era, Erykah Badu did not sing to please the masses. She told stories, she asked questions. On and on, Apple Tree. Other side of the game were not songs that were easy to absorb on first listen, but they compelled people to return. And when they did, listeners realized this was not merely music, but an entire ideology being planted. Badu was only in her early 20s at the time, yet her voice presence and manner of speaking made her seem like someone who had lived through many lifetimes. Success did not soften her. In 2000, Mama's Gun was released, an album many critics regard as the artistic peak of Badu's career. Gone was the innocence of Baduism. This record was heavier, darker, reflecting disillusionment, emotional wounds, and the cost of growing up. Bag Lady, the album's most famous track, became a symbol of letting go of emotional baggage, while also elevating Badu to one of the most influential artists within the Black community at the dawn of the 21st century. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, sold over 2 million copies, and cemented her position as an irreplaceable artist. But from this point on, Erykah Badu began walking a different path. She was no longer just a singer. She became a persona, a living image, a system of symbols. Badu spoke about spirituality, energy, human essence, distorted history, and collective trauma, what many would later call woke culture. Badu had been practicing long before the term became a trend, before social media turned every viewpoint into a slogan. She was labeled a pioneer of a pre-woke mindset, an artist who dared to speak, dared to live, and dared to accept being misunderstood. In 2008 and 2010, the 2 parts of New America were released, marking a phase in which Badu moved away from traditional R&B structures and into overtly political and social territory. The music was no longer easily accessible. It was fragmented, experimental, sometimes difficult to listen to. Yet that very discomfort reflected the spirit of the era. Instability Skepticism Division. New America. Part 1 reached the Billboard 200, earned another Grammy, and more importantly transformed Badu into a cultural voice, not merely an entertainment artist. However, from this moment, Erykah Badu's public image began to change. The media no longer viewed her simply as a neo-soul goddess. She was described as a critical intellectual, an artist living by an ideology of absolute freedom. But how much freedom was too much remained an open question. Badu's statements grew increasingly unpredictable. Her refusal to fit into any mold made fans both admire her and feel uneasy. She did not apologize. She did not adjust her message to suit the majority. To Badu, once thinking is flattened to become palatable, it ceases to be thinking at all. This is precisely what caused Erykah Badu's image to become sharply polarized. One side sees her as a rare artist who has preserved her true self within the entertainment industry. The other side begins to ask, is this depth of thought or merely a rationalization for socially irresponsible views? When an artist with more than 25 years of career, 5 Grammy Awards, and millions of fans speaks, their words are no longer just personal opinions. They carry cultural weight. Erykah Badu seems to understand this, yet refuses to change. She once stated bluntly, "I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to live according to my thoughts." That declaration is both the reason she is revered and the seed of the image crises that would follow. When the boundary between intellectual freedom and public responsibility is blurred, every statement can become a trigger. And that is the crucial context for understanding why what has happened to Erykah Badu in recent years is not merely a series of isolated scandals. It is the consequence of an entire artistic path built on absolute difference. A path that once carried her to the summit, but also left her standing alone before ever-growing waves of backlash. When an artist refuses to compromise with society, society will not be gentle when that artist goes too far. And for Erykah Badu, that moment is closer than ever. Window seat, the first fracture. Looking back at Erykah Badu's entire career, many believe that window seat was not her greatest shock, but it was certainly the first fracture. The moment when the image of the neo-soul goddess began to slip out of the public safe zone. If the previous phase showed Badu building a career on absolute difference and intellectual freedom, then Window Seat was the moment when that freedom collided head-on with law history and public space for the first time. In 2010, Erykah Badu released Window Seat, the lead single for the album New America Part 2: Return of the Ankh. Musically, the song was gentle, carrying a classic soul sensibility completely opposite to the heavy experimentation of New America Part 1. But what secured Window Seat a place in history was not its melody. It was the music video. The video was filmed in a guerrilla style, without official permits, without constructed sets, and without a visible crew. The chosen location was Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, the site where President John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963. This is a national historical landmark visited daily by hundreds of people, including many families and children. In the video, Erykah Badu appears among the crowd walking forward while slowly removing layers of clothing. She does not interact with those around her, nor does she make provocative gestures. When the song ends, Badu is completely naked and collapses to the ground at the exact spot marked as where the fatal bullet struck JFK. On the screen appears the line, "They play it safe." Are you still an artist? According to Badu's later explanation, the entire act was symbolic. She described it as character assassination, a reference to how modern society continually exposes judges and destroys the character of artists. Her act of undressing in this interpretation was a conscious choice to expose herself before public opinion could do so for her. Collapsing at Dealey Plaza was meant as a metaphor for the death of the artistic self in a world saturated with pressure and control. However, this interpretation only surfaced after the video had already ignited controversy. As soon as Window Seat was released, public and media reactions exploded. The debate did not center on whether the act was art, but on context and space. Dealey Plaza was not a gallery, not a performance stage, and the people present there had not consented to becoming part of a performance. This was the point at which the incident quickly moved beyond art and became a legal issue. On April 2, 2010, the Dallas Police Department confirmed that Erykah Badu was charged with disorderly conduct. Initially, she denied the charge, but by August of the same year, Badu agreed to pay a USD 500 fine and serve 6 months of probation. Legally, this was a minor penalty. Symbolically, however, it marked one of the rare instances in which an artist of Badu's stature confronted the legal system directly because of an artwork. Notably, throughout the entire process, Erykah Badu neither withdrew the video nor apologized to the public, nor did she adjust her message. The Window Seat video remains intact, standing as one of the most controversial music videos of the 2010s. From that point on, the public split into two clearly defined camps. A segment of the art world and her fans defended Badu, viewing the act as pioneering a continuation of the shock-driven tradition of performance art throughout history. They emphasized that art has no obligation to be safe, and that discomfort is sometimes the very point. Conversely, many argued that Window Seat crossed an unacceptable boundary, not because of nudity, but because it placed a personal message above historical memory and the rights of others. Using a public space, especially one of national symbolic importance, transformed the act from a personal artistic choice into an imposed experience on the community. More importantly, Window Seat fundamentally altered how the public perceived Erykah Badu. Before this, she was seen as different but harmless, an artist operating outside the mainstream. After Window Seat, Badu began to be viewed as someone willing to challenge laws and social norms regardless of consequences. From a neo-soul icon, she gradually became a figure of controversy. In the trajectory of Erykah Badu's career, Window Seat did not destroy her artistic standing. New America Part 2 still reached high positions on the Billboard charts, and Badu continued to win awards afterward. But in terms of public image, this was the first time the boundary between artistic freedom and social responsibility was fiercely drawn around her name. And from this fracture onward, every statement and every action by Erykah Badu was no longer viewed neutrally. Window Seat became a precedent not only for controversy, but for the public's readiness to ask a deeper question. Is Erykah Badu's difference a conscious artistic choice, or a sign of a path drifting ever further from society's shared limits? Statements that caused her image to collapse. After Window Seat, Erykah Badu did not grow quieter. On the contrary, she spoke more bluntly, more directly, and more dangerously. If the performance at Dealey Plaza was the moment when the public began to question how far she was willing to go, then the statements that followed were when that doubt turned into a global wave of backlash. This was no longer a debate about art, no longer a matter of aesthetic difference. This time, the conversation struck directly at history, morality, and collective wounds that have never truly healed. In 2018, during a lengthy interview with Vulture New York magazine, Erykah Badu was asked about her personal views, ethics, and how she perceives humanity. The conversation initially carried a philosophical tone, revolving around the idea of seeing the human essence behind evil. But only minutes later, it veered out of control. When asked about Louis Farrakhan and other controversial figures in history, Badu unexpectedly said that she could find something good in everyone. Then the name Hitler appeared. Erykah Badu stated that she saw something good in Hitler and referred to him as a great painter. That remark, lasting only a few seconds in an interview over an hour long, immediately became the focal point. Media outlets isolated the clip. Social media spread it at lightning speed. Headlines flooded the internet. Erykah Badu defends Hitler. Badu crosses the line from neo-soul icon to moral controversy. In historical context, that statement did not exist in a vacuum. Hitler is not merely a controversial figure. He is the symbol of the Holocaust of more than 6 million Jews, murdered of fascism and crimes against humanity. For a globally influential artist to publicly search for good in such a figure was widely seen as minimizing historical atrocities, even without any explicit defense. The backlash was almost immediate. The Anti-Defamation League, ADL, one of the world's largest organizations combating anti-Semitism, publicly condemned Badu's statement, calling it dangerous and irresponsible. Scholars, journalists, and fellow artists spoke out. Many who had once viewed Badu as a symbol of social consciousness began questioning the value system she stood for. Before the controversy had time to subside, the interview delivered another shock, this time regarding Bill Cosby. When asked about the sexual assault allegations against Cosby, who was later convicted, Erykah Badu replied, "If he's sick, why would I be angry?" She said she still loved Bill Cosby because of his past contributions to the Black community and American culture. Once again, the issue was not compassion itself. It was context and consequence. To many, the statement was interpreted as dismissing the pain of the victims. At a time when the Jalak Me Too movement was at its peak, an influential female artist speaking this way was seen as a betrayal of the very values of justice and protection for women that she had once represented. This wave of backlash came not only from mainstream media, but from her own former fan base. Many fans publicly announced they would no longer support her. Music forums erupted in heated debate. Some attempted to explain that Badu was articulating an extreme humanist philosophy, separating the person from their actions. But the majority viewed it as a dangerous naivete, especially coming from someone with millions of followers. How did Erykah Badu respond? She did not apologize in the way the public expected. Instead, she released vague statements emphasizing that her words had been taken out of context and that she believed in seeing light within darkness. But she did not retract the remarks. She did not acknowledge wrongdoing. She offered no direct apology to the communities that were hurt. That steadfastness prolonged the image crisis, and it did not end with long-form interviews. On Twitter, the platform where Badu frequently shared personal opinions, controversies continued to erupt. One of the most infuriating incidents involved sexual harassment in schools. During a debate about female students being harassed because of their clothing, Erykah Badu posted a tweet expressing agreement with school dress codes requiring long skirts, implying that provocative clothing could invite unnecessary trouble. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Many accused her of victim blaming and of undermining efforts to combat harassment and protect personal freedom. Particularly for an artist once regarded as a feminist icon, the statement was seen as a stark contradiction of her previous image. Once again, Erykah Badu did not apologize. She did not delete the post. She did not clarify or amend her position. Instead, she insisted it was her personal view and that she had the right to express her thoughts. For Badu, freedom of thought appeared to be the supreme value even when it collided with social movements from which she herself had once benefited. This series of statements blurred the line between critical thinking and offensiveness. On one side, Erykah Badu remained an artist who dared to think and speak freely, refusing to bow to public pressure. On the other, she became a textbook example of how individual intellect, when detached from historical and social responsibility, can cause deep harm. More importantly, these controversies fundamentally altered how the public received Erykah Badu. If window seat was the first crack, then the statements about Hitler Bill Cosby and the repeated social media controversies were the breaking point. From then on, every word she uttered was scrutinized through a lens of suspicion. No longer assumed to be deep or philosophical, her statements were now met with a persistent question. Was this responsible critique or extremism disguised in humanistic language? And it is precisely at this point that Erykah Badu's public image began to slide sharply. Not because her music changed, but because many realized that difference, when left without limits, can become the very thing that causes an icon to erode her own legacy. The Men Who Walked Away and the Emotional Shadow, named Erykah Badu. After the controversies surrounding her art and public statements, the public began to re-examine Erykah Badu through a different lens: her romantic life. Not out of mere curiosity about her private affairs, but because there were too many signs suggesting that these relationships left deep imprints not only on her music, but also on the psychology and careers of the men who had once been by her side. As Badu's public image grew increasingly divisive, her romantic past was unexpectedly pulled back to the center of public debate. Her relationship with Andre 3000 is always the most frequently cited chapter. In the late 1990s, they were an iconic couple in hip-hop and neo-soul culture. Unconventional, fashion-forward, creative, and almost unreal by showbiz standards. Andre 3000, a standout member of Outkast, was at the peak of his career. Erykah Badu had just emerged from Baduism, becoming a musical phenomenon. They met at a time when both were searching for their artistic identities, and their relationship quickly transcended the private sphere to become a cultural symbol. In 1997, Badu released On and On. Just days after the song's official release, she discovered she was pregnant. In 1998, 7 Sirius Benjamin was born, the son of Erykah Badu and Andre 3000. From birth, the child was tied to 2 major creative currents in American music. For many years, Badu and Andre co-parented 7, even though their romantic relationship did not last. They separated after about 5 years together. There was no scandal, no accusations, no public attacks through the media. Yet it was precisely this silence that fueled speculation. A popular theory among fans suggested that Andre left because he did not want to be bound not only by family, but by the intense emotional energy of Erykah Badu herself. Andre may have left because he didn't want to be trapped in a world that was emotionally too heavy. one widely shared comment once read on music forums. After the breakup, Andre 3000 was no longer quite the same. This is not baseless speculation, but something he indirectly acknowledged through his music. In 2000, Outkast released Stankonia, and the song Ms. Jackson quickly became one of the group's biggest hits. Though written as an apology to Erykah Badu's mother, the song was also a painful confession about rupture responsibility and helplessness. "I'm sorry, Ms. Jackson. I am for real." That line did not merely echo on the radio. It became the symbol of an incomplete love story. After Ms. Jackson, Andre 3000 gradually retreated from the spotlight. After 2003, he released virtually no official solo albums. In rare interviews, Andre admitted that he felt creatively lost, no longer finding joy in making music. He spoke of emptiness, of not wanting to share his mental state with friends, out of fear of being seen as weak. For many, that decline is closely associated with the period following his breakup with Erykah Badu. Andre was not the only one deeply affected. In the early 2000s, Erykah Badu entered a relationship with rapper Common, an artist known for his intellectual image, social consciousness, and emotional depth. They were not only lovers, but artistic collaborators. Songs such as Love of My Life, Ode to Hip-Hop from the film Brown Sugar became symbols of love and creative synergy. On the surface, it appeared to be an ideal relationship, two mature artists intellectually aligned sharing artistic ideals. But when they broke up in 2002, the psychological aftermath for Common was far more serious than many had imagined. In a 2019 interview, Common admitted that after the relationship ended, he fell into a state of mild depression. He described feeling like a shadow, eating irregularly, and losing connection with himself. "One of the hardest things I've ever done to myself was dealing with breakups," Common said. He even sought therapy to work through those emotions. What is notable is that neither Andre 3000 nor Common directly blamed Erykah Badu. There were no accusations, no personal attacks. Yet the common thread was clear: both men changed profoundly after leaving the relationship. And it was this coincidence that led the public to construct an almost mythical image of Badu, a woman of immense magnetism, who both inspired and exerted heavy psychological pressure on those who entered her world. Erykah Badu once stated bluntly in an interview, "The men who love me all change their lives." To some, this was a powerful assertion of female autonomy. To others, it sounded like a cold acknowledgement of the emotional impact she left behind. When combined with the ongoing controversies surrounding her words and actions, that image became even more complex. Badu's later relationships with the DOC and Jay Electronica also drew media attention, though, with less noise. She had 2 more children and continued to live life on her own terms, unbound by traditional family models. This made Badu a symbol of personal freedom, particularly within the Black female community. At the same time, it reinforced the image of a woman who was difficult to grasp and hard to commit to long-term. At a moment when Erykah Badu's public image was already under scrutiny, due to controversial statements revisiting these relationships, made the narrative heavier. It was no longer about who was right or wrong in love. It became a larger question. Can the intense magnetism and forceful individuality of an icon inadvertently become a psychological burden for those closest to her? Erykah Badu's romances were once celebrated as proof of feminism, independence, and emotional freedom. But when placed alongside their lasting psychological consequences, the public began to recognize another side. Absolute freedom comes at a cost. And sometimes that cost is not paid only by the one who claims it, but is reflected in the lives of those who once entered her orbit, and then quietly walked away, carrying fractures that are not easily healed. When Erykah Badu became a center of division. After a series of consecutive controversies, Erykah Badu was no longer facing an isolated personal crisis, but rather a clear polarization between her fan community and broader social criticism. This marked a period in which her public image changed profoundly, no longer being perceived in a unified way as it once was. On one side, her loyal fan base has remained steadfast in its support. To them, Erykah Badu is a rare neo-soul icon who has preserved her independent spirit through more than 25 years of career, earned 5 Grammy Awards, and exerted powerful influence over generations of R&B, hip-hop, and soul artists. Fans often emphasize that Badu had been speaking about identity, social consciousness, and personal freedom since the late 1990s. long before concepts such as woke culture or cancel culture emerged. From this perspective, her controversial statements are simply the consequence of refusing to adjust her thinking to fit contemporary public opinion. On the opposing side, social critics focus on how Erykah Badu articulates her views. Statements related to Hitler, Bill Cosby, and other sensitive geopolitical or moral issues prompted strong reactions from scholars, journalists, and social organizations. The Anti-Defamation League publicly condemned her remarks, arguing that finding good in figures associated with historical atrocities risks being interpreted as minimizing moral responsibility. Many analyses have pointed out that the issue is not freedom of thought itself, but a lack of consideration for historical context and the social impact of public speech. Social media has played a key role in amplifying this divide. Badu's remarks are often quoted in isolation and spread rapidly across platforms such as Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok, generating prolonged waves of debate. While fans attempt to provide fuller context from lengthy interviews, critics argue that no amount of context can sufficiently mitigate the sensitivity of the content. Mainstream media has also shifted its approach. Where Erykah Badu was once described primarily as a neo-soul goddess or a countercultural icon, recent coverage has focused more on the issue of artistic social responsibility. Rather than offering uncritical praise, the media now places her at the center of a larger question: how free can an artist be when they possess global influence? Notably, Erykah Badu has made little effort to narrow this divide. She rarely offers formal apologies and does not engage in public dialogue to explain or diffuse controversies. That silence itself has contributed to her image being interpreted through two sharply opposing lenses. From a widely beloved artist, Erykah Badu has entered a phase as a polarizing cultural figure. The divide between devoted fans and social critics reflects not only her personal story, but also the growing pressure placed on artists who choose independent thought in an era where every statement can instantly become the focus of global debate. A return to glory. Yet the shadow of controversy remains. Amid a reputation eroded by controversy, any positive signal from Erykah Badu's music inevitably carries the weight of a test. And then 2025 arrived, bringing with it a moment many believed could open the door to a comeback, a Grammy win for the song 3 a.m. On paper, it was a complete victory, a confirmation that Badu still possessed artistic gravity, still capable of creating work recognized by the industry's highest authorities. In reality, however, that victory was not enough to close the debate surrounding her. 3 a.m. was praised for its refined structure, hazy atmosphere, and a voice marked by time, calm, resonant, and unshowy. For many critics, it proved that Erykah Badu had not lost her ability to reach emotional depth. Yet in public discussions, the award was quickly placed beside familiar questions. Is artistic glory enough to offset controversial statements? Can a Grammy erase the memory of words that wounded entire communities? Success thus became both a light and a mirror, reflecting the growing distance between artistic achievement and public image. At the same time, Badu's recent tours continued to reveal an artist who has not retreated. On stage, she maintains her free, spontaneous demeanor, at times even challenging her own audience. There were moments captured by the media, Badu pausing a performance to directly call out audience members she described as mean mugging, reminding them about attitude and energy within an artistic space. To loyal fans, this is authenticity, a way for Badu to protect the sanctity of the live experience. To outsiders, however, such moments reinforce the image of an unpredictable artist inclined toward confrontation rather than conciliation. It is precisely here that Erykah Badu's challenge becomes clear. She remains herself, but the world around her has changed. Behaviors once seen as personality are now easily interpreted as a lack of restraint. Statements once labeled philosophical are now immediately scrutinized through an ethical lens. And within a media environment where every moment can be clipped, quoted, and spread, Badu appears to be walking an increasingly thin line. The greater test lies in her upcoming album after a 15-year wait. When Erykah Badu confirmed that she was preparing to release new material, expectations instantly surged. Since New America Part 2. A long silence had passed, long enough for fans to hope for a return that might feel conclusive, even reconciliatory. Yet that very silence also burdened the forthcoming album with heavy, controversial capital. Every new song, every new message will not be heard neutrally. It will be measured against the past, filtered through prior statements, and read as a form of justification, whether Badu intends it or not. The question, therefore, is no longer whether this album or that tour will succeed artistically. The larger question is whether Erykah Badu can restore her public image without sacrificing her identity. For an artist who built her career on absolute difference, damage control in the traditional media sense scarcely exists. Badu is not someone who apologizes to appease the crowd. Yet in an era where social responsibility is foregrounded, both silence and unwavering rigidity can be interpreted as indifference. Erykah Badu's future thus carries a paradox. Artistically, she remains strong. Awards tours and cultural influence attest to that. But in terms of image, the road ahead demands a balance she has never actively pursued between intellectual freedom and social impact, between artistic individuality and public expectation. If she continues along her familiar path, her legacy will become increasingly polarized. If she changes, the cost may be the very identity that made her Erykah Badu. And perhaps that is the greatest challenge of this stage, not creating better music, but deciding where Erykah Badu will stand within the cultural dialogue that she has intentionally or otherwise placed herself at the center of. Erykah Badu has never been an easy story to conclude. She is both a pioneering artist and a controversial figure, both celebrated for her intellectual depth and questioned for her moral boundaries. The only certainty is this: she forces us to think, to confront difficult questions about art freedom and responsibility in this era. Where do you stand in this story? Is Erykah Badu a symbol of artistic honesty or an example of difference taken too far? Leave your perspective in the comments, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. If you want to continue exploring the behind-the-scenes stories, hidden corners, and controversial truths behind cultural icons we thought we understood so well.
Some opinions expressed in this video may be subjective and reflect the content creator's perspective at the time of production. They should not be interpreted as objective facts or official positions. From the stage to the big screen, their influence is undeniable. Thank you for watching this tribute. If you enjoyed this walk through history, leave a like and subscribe to the Silent Legends archives. This video specifically recommended for you reveals a truth that few people talk about. Watch it now to see the full picture. Take care of yourselves.